By 1857, the historic land of Rajasthan was trapped in a tightening geopolitical vice. It began 40 years earlier with the treaties of 1817 and 18, masterminded by Charles Metcalfe and John Malcolm, which systematically eroded the sovereignty of the princely states. To enforce British dominance, the office of the Resident for Rajputana, initially stationed in Delhi under David Ochterlony, evolved. By 1832, the headquarters shifted to Ajmer, giving rise to the Agent to the Governor-General, or AGG. To escape the blistering heat, the British established a dual-base system, 6 months in the winter stronghold of Ajmer, and 6 months in the cool heights of Mount Abu. In 1857, the responsibility of keeping this volatile powder keg from exploding fell squarely on the shoulders of the incumbent AGG, George Patrick Lawrence. But beneath the surface of British administrative efficiency lay deep, festering resentment. The rebellion was not a sudden accident, it was fueled by 6 distinct dimensions of discontent. Politically, the British aggressively interfered in royal successions, such as in Alwar and Bharatpur, and forced local rulers to fund imperial troops. Economically, heavy fixed tributes, known as kiraj, coupled with British monopolies on salt and opium, shattered local cottage industries. Administratively, feudal lords were stripped of traditional rights, and their hereditary service, seva chakri, was forcibly monetized. Culturally, fears of Christian missionaries grew, while regional poets like Bankidas and Suryamal Meesan stoked anti-British sentiment through revolutionary literature. When the racially discriminatory military introduced the infamous fat-greased Enfield cartridges, it acted as the final spark to an already explosive landscape. British military control over the region relied on a network of 6 primary cantonments managed by AGG Lawrence. When the uprising began, this grid fractured violently. 4 of the outposts transformed into active incubators for the rebellion. Nasirabad was the first to strike, marching straight toward Delhi. It was soon followed by Neemach, Erampura, the headquarters of the Jodhpur Legion, and Deoli, whose troops quickly defected to join the Neemach rebels. Only 2 cantonments, Biawar and Kharwara, remained strictly loyal to the British command, refusing to join the mutiny. Out of 6 strategic hubs, 4 had turned open weapons against the British Empire. The sparks turned to open flames at the Neemach cantonment on June 3, 1857. In a striking act of defiance, a soldier named Muhammad Ali Beg openly refused to take a pledge of loyalty demanded by Colonel Abbott. Under the command of Hira Singh, the Neemach rebels broke into open mutiny, killing British sergeants before marching toward Delhi. Along their route, they found unexpected allies, receiving backing from Lakshman Singh, the ruler of Shahpura. As the base burned, 40 British survivors fled for their lives. They found temporary shelter in Dingla village with a local farmer named Raghu Ram, until Mewar's political agent, Captain Showers, orchestrated a rescue. The refugees were safely escorted to Udaipur, where Maharana Swaroop Singh protected them within the island palace of Jagmandir. By late August, the rebellion found its true epicenter. On August 21, Purbia soldiers of the Jodhpur Legion revolted in Mount Abu, launching a direct attack on Cantonment Officer Hall. 2 days later, on August 23, the mutiny exploded at Erampura base. The rebel soldiers broke ranks and adopted a rallying cry that echoed across the desert. Maro Pirangi, Dilli Chalo, strike the foreigner, march to Delhi. But a military march needs a political anchor. They found it in Thakur Kushal Singh Champawat, the formidable feudal lord of Owa. Driven by his own grievances against the British-backed Maharaja of Jodhpur, Kushal Singh stepped forward, assuming supreme command of the rebel forces and turning his fortress into a citadel of defiance. The defiance of Owa led to 3 brutal engagements. First came the Battle of Bithora on September 8, where Kushal Singh's forces intercepted a combined British and Jodhpur state army led by Captain Heathcote and Kushal Raj Singhavi. The result was a stunning rebel victory that left 76 provincial soldiers dead. Infuriated, AGG Lawrence himself took the field alongside political agent Monk Mason in the Battle of Chelavis on September 18. This second clash ended in another decisive victory for Owa. In a grim psychological warning to the British, Monk Mason was killed, and his severed head was mounted on the gates of the Owa fort. It took until January 1858 for the British to turn the tide. Under Colonel Holmes, a massive force laid siege to Owa. The fort finally fell on January 24, and in an act of targeted cultural suppression, the British seized the revered idol of Sugali Mata as a trophy of war. While Owa fought in the field, Kota witnessed a total civilian and military takeover. On October 15, 1857, a brilliant lawyer named Jayadayal and Rasaldar Mehrab Khan engineered a highly coordinated mass rebellion. The immediate catalyst was a closed-door meeting where the British political agent, Major Burton, suggested that Maharaja Ram Singh to punish rebel leaders. The plan leaked. Rebel forces breached the residency, executing Major Burton, his two sons, and the residency doctors. They placed the Maharaja under house arrest, forcing him to sign a humiliating treaty accepting responsibility for the deaths. For 6 months, the rebels governed Kota. Order was only restored in March 1858, when King Madanpal of Karoli sent military reinforcements to aid the British. General Roberts recaptured the city, and the architects of the uprising, Jayadayal and Mehrab Khan, were ultimately captured and hanged. The fire of 1857 spread rapidly through secondary flashpoints across Rajputana. In Dholpur, Deva Gurjar, Rao Ramchand, and Hiralal led a fierce uprising fueled by external rebels from Gwalior and Indore. It was so intense that the British had to call in the external army of Patiala to suppress it. In Tonk, while the Nawab remained loyal to the British, his uncle Mir Alam Khan openly backed a massive civilian surge that uniquely featured active participation by women. In Bharatpur, the local Gurjar and Meph communities rose up, forcing Maharaja Jaswant Singh to explicitly warn the British political agent, Captain Morrison, to flee for his life. Conversely, Jaipur became a stronghold of British containment. Maharaja Ram Singh too swiftly cracked down on local rebel leaders like Sadullah, Vilayat, and Osman Khan, earning himself the loyalist British title of Sitar-e-Hind. As regional uprisings faltered, the legendary leader Tantir Tope arrived to weave these fragmented battles into a unified guerrilla campaign. Entering Rajasthan twice, he initiated swift strike movements starting in Bhilwara. He successfully forged key alliances, receiving backing from leaders like Nasir Muhammad Khan of Tonk, Kesari Singh of Salumbar, and Jodh Singh of Kotria, even managing to capture Jalawar and Banswara. However, the British pursued him relentlessly. In August 1858, General Roberts defeated his forces at the Battle of Kuada on the banks of the Kothari River. Tantir Tope's incredible run finally ended not on the battlefield, but through betrayal. Captured in the dense Narwar forests due to the treachery of his trusted friend Man Singh, he was hanged in Shivpuri on April 18, 1859, an execution so controversial it was deeply condemned even by British Captain Showers. The rebellion produced figures of immense sacrifice and endurance. Consider Amarchand Bhatia, a wealthy merchant originally from Bikaner. Dubbed the Bhamasha of the revolution, Bhantia committed financial treason against the empire by liquidating his vast personal wealth to completely finance the guerrilla campaigns of Tantir Tope and the Rani of Jhansi. For this, the British executed him, cementing his place as a definitive martyr. Meanwhile, Kushal Singh Champawat, the warlord of Owa, survived the fall of his fort. He fled to Udaipur, finding refuge with sympathetic Mewar feudal lords, before finally surrendering at Neemuch in August 1860. The British instituted a special investigation under the Taylor Commission. Remarkably, due to a lack of actionable evidence regarding direct cold-blooded murder, he was released. He passed away in Udaipur in 1864, his name permanently woven into regional folklore. Despite incredible bravery, the rebellion ultimately fractured. Why did it fail? First, it suffered from a massive leadership vacuum. There was no unified national coordination with leaders like Bahadur Shah Zafar or Nana Sahib. Second, the timing was asynchronous. The isolated, scattered uprisings allowed the British to divide and conquer, and Tantir Tope arrived too late to connect the dots. Third, the rebels made critical geographic errors, entirely bypassing Ajmer, which housed the primary British arsenal and regional headquarters. Fourth, internal betrayal dealt a heavy blow, as key Rajasthan rulers and feudal lords chose to actively aid the British military machine. Coupled with tactical inferiority in modern weaponry and the draconian, brutal retaliation of British forces, mass public participation was effectively deterred, bringing a bloody end to the uprising. The suppression of the revolt fundamentally reshaped the power dynamics of Rajasthan. The clear winners were the British Crown, which stripped the East India Company of its governance, increased direct influence over the princely states, and transitioned the economy to Victoria Empress, coinage. The loyal rulers who betrayed the rebellion were rewarded with elevated titles, increased ceremonial gun salutes, and extensive land grants. The emerging merchant class also benefited, gaining lucrative state patronage for backing British stability. The absolute losers, however, were the feudal lords, or jagirdars. As collective punishment for backing the rebels, they were systematically stripped of their military and political autonomy. Their traditional armies were completely disbanded, permanently shattering their centuries-old hereditary influence. Historians still debate the true nature of this uprising. Was it merely a military mutiny? While it was sparked by Enfield cartridges, key bases like Biawar and Kharwara stayed loyal, while thousands of civilians joined the fray. Was it a conservative feudal revolt? Yes, the Jagirdars fought for their lost privileges, yet their actions were passionately celebrated in local folk songs, showing deep roots in the public psyche. Was it driven by religious dissent? Only partially, as the Christian missionary presence in Rajasthan was notably weak. The most accurate synthesis comes from a British contemporary, I.T. Pritchard, in his work Mutiny in Rajputana, who noted, the rebellion in Rajasthan was initiated as a military rebellion, but undoubtedly, it was a struggle for freedom from slavery of the British. It stands as Rajasthan's inaugural freedom struggle. Though crushed, the rebellion planted the structural seeds of modern India. To prevent another uprising, the British forced a rapid infrastructure shift, laying down extensive transport and communication networks across Rajasthan to move troops quickly. They attempted cultural engineering through educational segregation, introducing the Walter scheme to create exclusive schools for royals, consciously separating the ruling class from the public. Yet, this backfired. The introduction of English education inadvertently birthed a politically conscious, organized middle class. Ultimately, the martyrs of 1857 became immortalized in folk songs and law, serving as the ultimate catalyst that directly inspired the next generation of freedom fighters and laid out foundations for organizations like the Rajasthan Seva Sangh. The rebellion of 1857 was over, but the march toward true independence had just begun. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, comment if you enjoyed this quick revision.